I immediately started losing weight and toning more.
Wait, by eating more food?
By eating more food, yeah.
Okay. Hey, so today I have Warrior Babe Karen here with us. And before she found Warrior Babe, Karen spent years trying to stay fit. She was balancing her career, she was raising two teenagers, and she was doing everything for everyone else. But when constant migraines and exhaustion and creeping weight gain started to take over, she realized something had to change. She wanted to be strong, she wanted to feel energized, and she wanted to be in control. Not just now, but for the long game. And then she found Warrior Babe, and that gave her structured workouts, gave her guidance, gave her confidence to get her health back, and now she's thriving in ways that she never imagined. And today, I have her here to share her story with us. Karen, welcome.
Thank you.
So, can you let the listeners know where you are from, what do you do for work, and how old you are?
All right, so I live just outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm a principal engineer and a technical project manager for a small tech company who designs sensors. So it's go, go, go at work. Um, yeah, and I have two kids who are now teenagers, but balancing all of that is pretty hard.
Yeah. And how old are you, if I don't
Oh,
mind?
sorry, I'm 47 now.
Okay, cool. And fellow PA resident, let's go. I'm from
That's right.
Philly, outside of Philadelphia. Pittsburgh is such a beautiful city.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's dive into your story before Warrior Babe. What was like your health and fitness like before you joined us?
So I've my entire life I've been active. I love the outdoors. I do things. And I remember when I was younger thinking like, oh, I like to bike, I like to kayak, I like to hike. I don't need a workout, right? And that gets you by in your 20s, kind of in your 30s, right? But I had my kids, life got a lot busier, and the pandemic happened, and with little kids that was crazy. And after that I had some health issues and my weight just started creeping up. And I remember my mom's weight starting to creep up when she was about the same age, and I was like, I don't want that to happen to me. I want to, I have plans for retirement. I want to be active. I want to do things. And it just really wasn't working. So I started trying to figure out how to work out. And, there's a million and five different ways and tips and tricks and so on. Um, but it wasn't really working. I think I just, every year, like my weight would creep up a little bit more, and I was doing things that didn't feel very effective. And it's hard to stick with things that aren't effective. So I just felt like I was putting an effort with no result. And I was getting pretty frustrated with that.
Sure. What do you feel like, because you said you were always active and you were doing all the things. What made you realize that, like, was there one specific thing that you felt like was still missing?
Yeah, so I like going biking, for example. And I have kind of this route. We've got this beautiful rails to trails uh, trail near our house, and I like riding that. And it just felt like, if I ride my bike several times a week, I feel like it should kind of get easier at some point, and it never
Mm,
did. And I'm like,
mm,
man, this hill is still hard, and it just felt like like I wasn't getting any better. And in that sense, like I was getting less fit because I was getting older, not really doing anything about it. And I think it just felt like I'm going through motions of something and there's no result. And I just can't keep doing that.
I hear you. You're putting in all of the work, you're putting all this effort in, and it's not showing the results that you want. What do you feel like that was the most like frustrating part about that?
It just felt like I had to put in time that was scarce enough. And then I'm doing things and I have to keep making time for something. And then it feels like, why am I doing this? And, every year my weight went up a little bit. And, I'd be like, oh, I'll lose over the summer. And that never happened. And so I think it was just seeing that cycle. And then, like you mentioned, I got some really bad migraines. I was sick. I had sleep issues. I was just a zombie for a while. And
Mm,
I realized, like, I can't keep doing what I'm doing. I have to invest in myself if I want to see results.
love that. Was that like the moment, or was there a specific moment that like really hit you that you needed to make a change?
Yeah, I think it was towards the tail end of that. I finally got some sleep medication and some resolution for those issues. But I realized that everybody's expectations on me never changed, whether I was healthy or not. And if I didn't make that space for myself, it was never going to be about myself. And I
Wow.
would keep, work would be taking all that time, and my family would take all that time, and there'd be none left for me.
Wow. Would you say like because you mentioned when I was reading through your form that you would put everyone first ahead of you, right?
Yeah.
What was that? Was that the moment that made you realize like you had to make a change?
Yeah, yeah. It was that realization that if I put everyone first, they would accept that and take all that time from me, and there'd be none left for me, and nobody was making that space to say, "Hey, you need time for yourself."
Wow, that's a serious like self-awareness. Like, if people aren't like allow like the expectations that you had just mentioned, like I need to fulfill those for myself, not for everyone else around me. How did you feel like these struggles that you were going through, how did that impact your motivation? How that impact your confidence? Like how that impact your relationships that were around you?
Yeah, it made me feel like I didn't have a lot of control. Like
Mm,
if you can't control yourself and if you feel like you have no control over things you want to get done, I think that spirals into all parts of your life where you kind of feel like, you know, someone else is steering where you're going and you don't have that amount of control.
hmm.
And um, that's hard. Like I realized I'd let that happen and I needed to start steering myself.
I love that for you. That's a big realization. When you first started Warrior Babe, did you have any fears or doubts like about whether it would actually work or not?
Yeah, I mean, I signed up for Warrior Babe because I saw all the ads that are everywhere on social media about this one quick fix, and if only you eat this one thing, everything will be fixed. And I knew that wasn't true. So what really attracted me to Warrior Babe was it made sense. It was a multitude of things. I know diet matters. I know exercise matters. It was putting it together. But it was overwhelming at first. Like I remember getting that first, here's the macros you need to hit, and being like, how am I ever going to do this?
Let's
So
actually backtrack on that really quick. Sorry,
yeah.
Karen. Did you know anything about macros beforehand?
So I'd heard about them, but I didn't really know anything about them.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What was your more focus like when it came to nutrition before Warrior Babe?
So I mean, I knew things like keto or things like that seemed to work, right? Because they restrict what you can eat. And I think that was one realization I had was if I did some type of diet that essentially prevented me from just picking up random junk food because it didn't fit in the restrictions I'd set for myself, that would help. But again, like sometimes I lost some weight, but I certainly wasn't, more fit or anything like that. So I hadn't dove into macros at all. And that was right about the time I saw the ads for Warrior Babe, is about when I was like, huh, maybe there's something to this.
Okay, and so when you saw the Warrior Babe ads, was it me in the ads?
Yes.
Yeah. What made you finally take the, or what specifically like stuck out what I was talking about?
It was the combination of everything.
Mm.
It was like, it wasn't just like, there's one thing you need to do. Um, and it spoke to me because I knew I wanted to lose weight, but it wasn't about losing weight as much as being fit and knowing that I would remain fit and kind of the, hey, this is a lifestyle. Like I can't do a diet that after 3 months I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to be off this diet and eat cake again, right? Like
Right.
I needed a lifestyle. I knew I needed a lifestyle. So I think that really spoke to me. And the combination of, hey, it's a lifestyle and here's the things, and then also seeing like all the other support. It's not just food, it's not just workouts, it's kind of the whole mindset of everything and how you bring that into your life. And I think that really spoke to me. And I
Wow.
have to say, I mean, it is real.
I love that. We measured up on the promises and we kept the
Yes,
good.
absolutely.
Good. I
Yeah.
love that. So what were you mentioned there was overwhelm at the beginning. Let's talk about that. Like, what were your initial thoughts in the first couple of months when you started working with your coach?
Right. So obviously, at first it was like, let's see what I'm eating. And then it was that first week where she's like, here's the macros and here's a suggested meal plan. And, it was a lot of ideas, but it was also overwhelming. And I remember sitting there like that Sunday and I back from a weekend away and I was like, how am I ever going to make this happen? Um, and then I also realized I was hungry and I should not be making decisions while I'm hungry. So I had a good dinner. And then I think that first week I really took it like I was like, I have to cut this down. Like, I have to make this manageable. So I was like, okay, there's a bunch of suggestions here, but I'm going to pick out like four meals that look good to
Hmm.
me. And I'm just going to start with that and start building chunks. Now, I mean, I love math, right? That's part of my job. And so I quickly realized macros is a game. where you balance numbers. And so once I was into macros, it made so much sense because I was like, oh, okay, it's just like figuring out how all these blocks fit together and then making that balance. But the beginning was, yeah, it was a lot.
I love that. Love the way that you just like painted that picture because that's exactly what it is. It's a balance of numbers in the 4 or 5 meals that you have in the day, and that can serve you in so many like we'll get to talking about how that's helped you so far, but I love the way that perspective. That's a great outlook on it. I always used to call it like the game of Tetris, where I had to get the blocks at the top, like the five plus or minus. So I love that. You mentioned that Warrior Babe in the form filling this out for the interview that took out like the guesswork of your workouts and your nutrition. Like, how did that change your experience compared to what you were doing beforehand?
Yeah, so beforehand I was, trying. I found some exercise videos that had kind of a routine put together. I was doing those, but then I also always got kind of distracted by someone being like, "Hey, here's this really effective workout you should do," and so I was kind of piecing things together, um, which wasn't very effective, and I didn't really have time to figure it out myself. And
Mm.
I think that's the biggest thing is like I don't have to figure it out when I have a coach because she knows and she adjusts as needed and she has all that knowledge and I don't have to become a coach because I already have a job.
I love that. Can you unpack that a little bit more? Like, how has working with your coach changed your approach to fitness and to nutrition, and even to like how you balance your professional life with your workouts and nutrition?
Yeah, so I've basically figured out things like for the food, like I have go-tos. So when it's really busy, I don't have to overthink food. Like there's always like that backup plan. And if there's days I want to bake, like I can figure that out if I want, but I don't have to. So I think I like that about macros because yeah, there's math involved, but I know what I'm going for, and it's really easy. Like I have chocolate almost every day because life is sad without chocolate, right? Um,
Yes.
but I know I can fit it in, right? And then I know like, hey, what's a reasonable amount? Like it takes the guesswork out of it. And the workouts are the same way. So, I give feedback to my coach if there's any exercise I'm struggling with or I have questions, but having kind of that set, this is what we're going to do, it means I don't have to think about it. I don't have to be like, hey, which combo of things should I be doing and, how should I be putting that together? It really is nice to, you know, just kind of have that and know it's tailored to me. I didn't just pull it off the internet somewhere and hope it works.
Oh, I love that. I love the ease of that for you now. When I have a question going back a little bit with macros, you mentioned there's obviously like a lot of a learning curve at the beginning, and then you kind of made it work for how it would fit for you with the math and the breaking it down and picking out 4 meals. How much time did it take you to log those meals at the beginning, and how much time is it taking you to do it now?
Yeah, so at the beginning, it really was like I would sit down on Sundays and be like, all right, what am I prepping this week and how is it going to work? And be like, oh, I want to eat this. Oh, that's going to throw everything off. Let me rethink my dinner. And like it would kind of get this. I would definitely spend a lot of time on Sunday figuring out what I needed to prep and how it was going to work.
Hmm.
And then I just got to this point where I was like, okay, these are things I really like eating. And I basically build my meals and then there's a little fudge factor around it where I haven't quite hit all my macros yet. And then I can kind of fit things in there. And then I have a few things that at night I know like here's how I can add a little more protein, here's how I can add a little more carbs. I've finally gotten to the point where adding a little more fat sometimes has to happen. I did not think I was going to get there. Fat used to be the thing I was like always trying to figure out how not to exceed. But I'm at that point now. Um, so it's become so much easier. Like I said, there's just like some go-to meals that this is what I have for lunch. And so I don't have to think about it because I basically built these larger Tetris blocks. And when I was starting out, there were all these small little blocks and I was trying to balance like 40 of them. Now I'm like, oh, okay, this is a pre-built meal and I plug it in here.
That's
And that's made
amazing.
it easier.
That's amazing. I love that. So, with all the other like the things you tried before Warrior Babe, what and now that you're 5 months into the program, what made Warrior Babe different from everything that you've tried before?
So I think partially it's comprehensive. And partially a lot of the things I tried before were a lot of cardio.
Mhm.
I still have friends I see, they're like, I'm going to hit the gym and run 20 miles every day this week because it's Thanksgiving. And I'm just like, yeah, that never worked for me. And it was a time sink. Like, I think that was a lot of it. There was that time sink, and then there was other things. Like I said, like I tried keto at one point. I definitely lost some weight. There was no way I was sticking with that long term,
Sure.
and that made it really hard because you're depriving yourself of things you like, and so yeah, you can get some type of results for a while, but it's not a lifestyle.
Hmm. Yeah, who wants to have not have carbs for the rest of their life?
Right.
It's not sustainable. You wouldn't be able to have that chocolate at the end of the day. Okay, so you mentioned too that your goal is to grow old and to feel strong and to be active. How has Warrior Babe helped you feel like that's possible?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the biggest thing I've gotten from Warrior Babe is actually confidence. Is the confidence that I can control my body, I can control my life, I can control other things. And I mean, for example, I work out in the mornings now, and I never thought I would do that because you have to get up really early. But I found like as hard as it is to get up in the morning and do a workout, it sets me up for success for the rest of the day. Like I get through that workout and I'm like, I did 12 reps today, right? And that was a success. And I walk into work and I'm like, look at the success I've already had today. Like there's other things I can do this. So I think that's the big thing is like that confidence that I can achieve goals and just looking at those small wins every day and building off of that. So that gives me the confidence that, yeah, it's a lifestyle. And when I retire, I can, travel the world and carry my own suitcase. Like that seems so achievable when I look at all these little successes.
I love that for you. That's such a powerful perspective. And that confidence is what you've gained the most out of. And that you work out in the morning now. And it really is the hardest thing to do first thing in the morning. And then when you go into work, it's like everything else is a breeze.
Right,
Right?
right. Like I told other people, like, it's a step at a time. My alarm goes off, and then I'm like, okay, maybe I won't work out today because I don't feel like it, but I'm going to get out of bed. And then I get out of bed. And then I'm like, well, I'm up, so I'm going to eat, right? So I eat my pre workout food. And then I'm like, oh, this workout isn't really that hard. I think I can do it. And so I live life in these little steps in a sense, so it never feels overwhelming. And I mean, I think I approached all of it this way. So the macros I broke down, the workouts, the getting things done, I just kind of break it down that way.
I love that. You
Um,
just inspired me because I started doing morning workouts and it's really hard to wake up in the morning. But I'm
it
going to take it in
is.
Karen steps. I like that.
It is so hard and it's ridiculous because I feel so good afterwards,
Hmm.
but every morning my brain forgets. And it's like, this is the worst thing ever.
Isn't that wild how our brains work like that?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk since joining Warrior Babe. Like, where are actually let's start at the beginning. Let's take go down the road of did you start in a cut? Did you start in a retrain? Did you have
So I started in retrain, but I immediately started losing weight and toning more
wait by eating more food?
by eating more food. Yeah.
Okay. How much food,
So
when you guys were assessing how much you were eating at the beginning, what was it roughly around? Do you
I
remember?
was in the 15 to 1800. Like on a day I ate a lot, I was eating about 1800 calories, but average days were lower and my protein was terrible.
Yeah. So it was mainly just carbs and fats.
It was a lot of carbs and fat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's totally normal, Karen. You're not alone there. No, a lot of women have a hard time eating. Well, it's more so the understanding of it. It's not the hard thing to eat. It's just the understanding of it. We don't know that we need to eat protein. Like it's not. We were never. I wasn't taught that. Were you taught that?
I mean, I knew I had to eat protein, but the amount, no.
Right.
Like, I'm like, oh, I'm having some protein. It's fine.
Right.
And yeah, so I'm now at a little over 2,100 calories, and
I
I'm
love
still
that
losing
for you.
weight and gaining muscle. So
That's incredible. Are you still at in the retrain right now, or did you guys are you maintaining?
yeah, yeah. So we're at the point where we're kind of maintaining, seeing what my body does from here on out. So like the weight loss has obviously slowed down. Um, I'm down over 20 pounds, but it's 30 pounds over what I weighed like a few months before I started Warrior Babe, which is
Wow.
like this that spring. And I was like, I can't do this anymore, which is part of that motivation. Yeah, it's amazing. And I think, I lost weight over winter. I don't think that's ever happened to me.
Winter's usually the bulking season with all the holidays, right?
That's right. I eat so many Christmas cookies, and yet I fit them in my macros.
Yes. Oh, I love to hear that. That's incredible. You should be so proud of yourself for the losing the
I
20
am, and
pounds.
like I said, it's the confidence. Like
Yeah.
I can, I'm having success, and it really drives me. But it really drives me even outside of just weight loss and fitness and things like that. But it's the mindset, and I'm loving that.
That's awesome. What are some more like top achievements that you've had with us?
Um, yeah, so like I said, I have had to kind of rebuild my wardrobe. I was super excited the other day. There's this skirt I love that I hadn't fit in for like since my daughter was born, and now I fit in it again. So like those clothes you love, and you're like, it'll work out. Yeah, it did. Right now, I feel vindicated saving some of my favorite stuff. Um, but also like a few weeks ago, my workout shift changed a little bit, and there were some things that I was like, oh, I can do this now. Like, you know, I- I'm lifting way more weight than I ever thought possible, in a sense, because it seemed like it was making no progress before. So I think there's like, it's not so much like, wow, it's one big win. It's all these little things that I notice.
Yeah,
Like
I
one of
love.
my coworkers recently said to me as we were walking up the stairs in our building, like, you used to get kind of out of breath doing this, and now, like, no sweat. And I'm like, yeah. Like,
What about if you were to get back on a bike again? Have you tested that out? Is it easy now?
so I've done a little biking, and it's definitely a lot easier. Yeah.
I love that. Oh, I'm celebrating you so hard over here. You had just mentioned too that you lifted heavier weights than ever before now. So how does that make you feel?
That like that's a huge accomplishment, because I know there's a point where it's like, okay, you buy weights, and then at some point you have to get some heavier weights. And I was like stuck in this, okay, but I just have the little dinky weights. And now I'm like, oh, okay, so I bought 20-pound weights for that. I might, I'm gonna need a, you know, so I do my workouts at home. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'm expanding my home gym, um, in ways that I didn't think I'd ever have to.
That's,
So that's really cool.
that is so cool. How has taking control, I love that word that you used, of your health, how has that influenced other areas of your life? How has it influenced your career? How has it influenced your family?
I think overall, just being more confident has made a big difference at work too. Since I manage a pretty crazy diverse group of engineers and scientists, like I'm always juggling stuff, and it's kind of like, okay, let's go with the flow. Let's figure this out. Let's solve these problems. Let's break it apart. Let's keep going. And I think, I mean, I always had that mentality to some extent, but at this point, like having that confidence, like I said, I come in the door at work in the morning and I've worked out, and I already feel like I have this win that makes me feel like things are doable. And that's different than kind of dragging yourself into work in the morning, being like, let's see what's going to happen.
Totally.
So I think that's made a big difference. And, my family's actually been very supportive of making time for myself. Um, I don't think they would have realized it without me actually doing it. And my daughter's 13, so body image things come up with her, and I
Mhm.
think she's joined me for exercising sometimes and some workouts and stuff. So I think she's also seeing kind of that confidence in my, like, I'm going to make a change, and here it is, and I think that's helping her as well.
Karen, that's huge. That's like generation, like, helping her see the positive light of working out and eating right and what it can do for her and how it can make her feel. I love
Yeah.
that. At the beginning too, when we were chatting, you mentioned that it's not just about the pounds you lost or the inches that you lost, but you're feeling more energized. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, there was that point where I had migraines and I couldn't sleep right. Like I slept 8 hours a day,
Hmm.
and I felt I was not rested when I woke up in the morning. And I just remember feeling like a zombie at the end of the day and like dragging through that. Ha- and like working out in the morning like makes it even better, like in terms of energy. Like I was working out in the evenings when I started because it felt like that was where the time was, right? Because now I come home and there's less hours before I have to go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but coming home kind of with that, oh my God, I have to work out still was really hard. And I think that that meant the end of the day kind of had this looming, I have to do this. And working out in the morning just makes me more alert, makes me more energetic. And so I just have more energy throughout the day. Like obviously eating right and all these things are helping, but I think it's part of that mindset too. And then I know when I get home at night, I can spend time with the family and I don't have things I have to go do. So, I mean, built into all of that is I'm healthier, I'm happier, and all of that is contributing to my energy. But also, kind of figuring out how to set up my day has been huge for that.
You're a freaking rock star, Karen. To make like to have these subtle like self-awareness of things that had to change. One, you taking control and you making the moves for yourself to do the workouts, sign up for the program, to take this in your hands because no one else was going to do it for you is huge. One, you should be very proud of that. And then two, having these like, okay, I'm going to do it from this perspective of macros because this is how my brain works and it's going to work best for me. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have like people think that, oh, this is the way that Karen does it. I have to do the way Karen does. But like you have the ability to compartmentalize like, hey, this is how it's going to work for me and that's how it's going to make me successful. And then the last thing I just heard is like the evening workouts were not working for you. So you were aware that there was a looming like, oh, like I have to still do this at the end of the day, and it made you feel a type of way about it, and it didn't make you excited. It was more like I have to work out, not like I get to work out. And then
Mm-hmm.
you shifted the gears, and you put it in the beginning of the day, and now you're just radiating with the control you have and the confidence that you have. It's so cool to hear your story. What if, and this is just like a what if, what if you never made the change? Like, where do you think you'd be today?
I mean, I think I'd be getting increasingly frustrated that I don't feel like I have control over myself. And if you don't
Mm-hmm.
have control over yourself, you don't feel like you have control over anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel really lucky. I mean, I think I found Warrior Babe somewhat just at the like right when I was really open to it, and I committed to it 100% because if I was going to do this, I was going to do this.
I love
Um,
that you just said that because I've done like 25 other interviews with Warrior Babes, and a good portion of them, maybe like 25% of them, have been I sat on it, I waited a month, I put it in like a saved bucket, and then like I kept getting all the ads and I kept getting the content, and I finally made a decision. But you were like, no, I'm open, I'm ready, this is popping in at my space at the right time, and I'm going to fully, you made the call for the next day, and then you signed up.
yeah, yeah. And then I signed up and I spent that money, and I was going to get my money's worth. So
Heck
I was
yeah.
committed.
Heck yeah.
And
Um,
it's funny, it's like all those little things that provide like that reinforcement of what I need to get done, right? Like, I mean, yeah, there's the I spent money on it, but there's also like tracking my food is amazing because there's accountability. And so I can now have a package of cookies at work and know I can only eat three today. But it's okay if the whole package is over there because I'm going to pull out my three and set them aside. And if I start eating more cookies, well, there goes the rest of my day. Like I can't have dinner anymore, right?
right.
Um, and my coach helps absolutely too, knowing someone is looking, right? Like those are things that keep me accountable and on track as well. So yeah, it's if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, I love that. What would you say to someone that's listening to this right now that's afraid to put themselves first? Like, think back to, Karen before Warrior Babe. There's
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of women out there that feel that way, that they're afraid to show up and put themselves first. Like, what advice would you give that woman?
Well, inevitably, if you're not making space for yourself, you're not going to be able to give everything else the amount of energy and effort and commitment that it needs because you end up just you're running on empty.
Hmm.
And I'm more present with my daughter spending time with her now because you know I don't have like also looming in the back of my head of, oh, all this other stuff, right? So by committing to myself and marking out a corner of my life for myself and my time, um, that lets me be more committed to the rest of the things. Like balance matters, and you don't do a good job if you're not balanced in anything.
Love that. Great way to kind of start closing this out. I have one more question for you. For someone that's watching this right now who's unsure of like taking the next step, what would you tell them about Warrior Babe and how it could impact their life?
So it really is about lifestyle. It is not, you're going to, address one corner of your life and kind of ignore the rest. It really is balanced about my entire life. What I want to do now, what I want to do in the future. Um, and it's fundamentally it's not about weight loss. It's about being the best me, and being fit and healthy is part of that, but it really is that mindset of how you tackle your entire life. And I think that's, like I said, the biggest thing I've gotten out of this isn't how many inches I've lost on my waist or how many pounds I've lost or how much weight I can lift. It's that confidence of having control over my life. And that's invaluable.
You're incredible, Karen. That's some really wise advice, and I can't wait for a lot of women to hear those words. Like I feel like you need to say it louder for the ones in the back because it's not just about weight loss on a regular basis. It's about how is this helping me for the long term to have longevity, to feel confident, to feel like my best self. So then you can present yourself for others that are around you, your family, your career, and those people that cross your paths as the confident version of Karen.
Yeah.
So super cool to hear your story, and everyone that's listening to this. So many women can relate to Karen's story, and I'm sure there's women listening that are balancing everything and everyone, and you're putting yourself last. But when Karen finally decided to take control of her health, she found strength, she found confidence, she found control, she found the best version of herself that she's never imagined possible. And if you guys are tired of spinning your wheels and you're ready to make some real change, this is your sign. This is the opportunity to take the first step. And so check out warriorbabe.com. Karen, thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. I appreciate you.